Welcome back to Pedal and Ash. This is Glithy, your learner here. Today we're going to do a yapping video, which I know is not my most popular type of video, but I wanted to yap a little bit about kanji and how to learn kanji. So let's get into it. So, what led me to want to do this topic is I was hanging out on Reddit as one does, and in r/learn Japanese, I saw them talking about learning kanji either in isolation or learning words. And I think it was a very interesting conversation about the importance of you should try to learn some of the onyomi and kunyomi, sorry, but you should also really focus on trying to learn in context, but make sure you're learning to recognize kind of the most common things. And it made me think that something is a little bit missing from the conversation, and that was handwriting. And so, what we're going to talk about today is why I think you should handwrite kanji. Now, I understand that there's the two most popular kind of ways to learn. So, right, RTK, reading the kanji, and wani kani. And both are quite popular and are very useful. Like, I'm not knocking either of those. I think that if you want to learn kanji, those systems, or I think another popular one is kanji damage, is very good. Um, what happens though, I think, for some learners, or honestly, in my feelings, maybe many learners, is there's a little bit missing when you choose one of these systems. And RTK, of course, fundamentally, we know what's missing, right? You only learn how to write the kanji and you learn in English mnemonic. Wani kani, you only type the kanji, but you do learn the mnemonic, you do learn context words, things like that, which is more modern and probably for many feels more useful than RTK. But I do think that RTK has its uses, and I think what makes RTK powerful is the handwriting aspect. And so I don't want to hash the debate. What I want to do is encourage the handwriting thing. So, first off, let me talk about my experience with kanji. I can write about 500, 600, somewhere in there, um, with context words. So, like, as I'm writing down, like, a journal entry or an essay, I don't have to, like, struggle a lot of times for kanji. Sometimes I second guess myself, but overall, I have a class of about 600 I can write with no problem. Uh, And through this, I learned it mostly from doing Genki 1, Genki 2, and then going through and doing various different programs that I've done. Uh, but I also did RTK, and I did RTK after doing Genki 1 and 2, actually. And RTK, I feel like, is old school. So I don't know if it's super popular anymore. Um, I do recommend it for some people, because there's something that really helps to just write and write and write and write and then go back later and connect. But I only recommend those who might do RTK to do it after you do a little bit of Genki or something. The reason for that is you start to really kind of connect yourself to the kanji, and then afterwards you are a little bit tedious in the beginning, but you start to get a feel for the radicals. You start to get a feel for how to write things, like the stroke order. And then when you go back to Genki or head on to the next thing, you're actually applying that kind of muscle memory and recognition to what you're going into next. So that's partially why, like, my N3 book is very easy for me. Mostly I'm going through and just looking for kanji that I didn't learn, not so much as like trying to learn every single one. Now, that's my experience, and I want to talk now a little bit about why I think handwriting is good. And so that's kind of a two pronged thing. So, one I think is recognition. So, writing the kanji, not necessarily again and again and again and again and again, but writing it a couple of times can really help, I think, with recognition, particularly similar kanji. So as you're learning, maybe if two similar kanji come up or you see a kanji and you think it's a different one, writing it down and then referencing it, maybe writing it down like I think in RTK you write the kanji 3 times, um, can really help you with similar kanji. Uh, and that was really my biggest takeaway from RTK and the thing that I stick with as I continue to learn kanji. The second thing I think is there's something about old style tactical learning that helps cement the difference in your mind. Like, I guess you can kind of feel the difference. And so when you encounter new kanji or even that same kanji with now its meaning, you have this kind of feel for it already. Now, I don't think you, like I said, have to do RTK. I think that in the time we've had, there's probably better systems. I did RTK years and years ago. It is good to do that kind of writing, even if you're using something like Wanikani or Kanji Damage or whatever appeals to you. Uh, and in full disclosure, I think that using Genki is still like a good beginner book. I know there are many other new beginner books, but Genki's still my favorite for beginners, even though I know it has its issues. Uh, and so going from Genki to another book, particularly a book that gives you keywords or words that actually like use the kunyomi and onyomi. Just learning the kunyomi and onyomi, I don't think does much for you because some things have too many. Like, um, I say ikiru, but that's only one of it, like e, and I'm not going to show it on the screen. Sorry, but you'll have these that have so many different kunyomi. Kunyomi? Yeah, I believe it's the kunyomi. And you have to, if you're learning isolation, try to memorize all of them. And I'll be honest, not worth it. It's better to see it, get a feel for it, get a feel for words that are common. And then when you encounter that kanji in the wild, try to just guess it. Like when I did RTK, I was already in Japan and I would just look at kanji and like guess what it meant. And then later when I was like actually going through for the context, just try to like, oh, this is the most common like one. Maybe that's right. Maybe it's not. But most times I was right. So I think there's some value in that. The other thing, and this is why I think that handwriting is good and just sticking to your system, is don't let kanji stress you out. Uh, it can be tedious, it can be boring, but don't let it be stressful. If you start to feel stressed out doing kanji, just take a break. um, but that's like my biggest thing. Because I think for the most part now, people use wanikani or they use anki, and those are not things that where you have to write. It's about visual recognition, which is not a problem. But like I said, I think that there's a tactleness of the old school of handwriting that really helps cement in your mind kanji and helps you really learn it. And so that's kind of the basics for this. And that's what I wanted to go through in the video. So then to go back to me a little bit, like I said, I'm looking at this kanji book and I'm also learning new kanji through Quartet, uh, the occasional new kanji. And I write those down. Um, I didn't write them down in my kanji compounds sheet. I wrote them down in my Ginkin Yoshi paper, which I don't know if I recommend, and I might have said that wrong because I'm a little bit tired, but I do recommend writing it down. I do recommend maybe writing a journal in Japanese. I think that's what is a big recommendation these days because generally for kanji and for Japanese, of course, in general, is you want to touch it as much as possible. I think that's what's kind of missing because I use a lot of different things that expose me to a lot of different kanji. And I can tell you right now, I don't remember half the kanji I see in like Migaku out in the wild um, without super amounts of repetition that I think take too long. Whereas the stuff I did from handwriting really like clicks in my mind better. And I know that that could just be a personal thing. Like, I'm not a young learner, I'm in my late 30s, to be a little bit super honest for a moment here. So, yeah, that's what I want to talk about with kanji. So, to end this video, I wanted to state that, like, um, I didn't do a study with me video this time because I've been studying cafes. I'm not brave enough to film in a cafe. I feel like that's weird. But I do want to try to make these videos about learning Japanese. So this time I did a little bit on kanji. I'm trying to think of how to do a video on grammar or maybe a specific grammar point. If that's interesting, I will try to get that up maybe next week, or I'll do something different, but probably another yapping video. So, anyways, if you guys have some things you want to recommend about kanji, or you want to fight about which kanji style is better, feel free to do so in the comments, and I will see you guys in the next video.